With the next project in the DCU now underway, it's time to start up some Peacemaker episode recaps. Let's get into it. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Welcome back into JC's Movies, where you can see all kind of movie reviews and news with me, JC, here today to continue talking about the DCU. You guys know it's one of my favorite things to cover here. The DCU, superhero movies, horror movies, comedy, that's all right up my alley. So if it's up yours as well, be sure to hit that subscribe button here to the channel. We'll talk some movies together, all that fun stuff. Like we're going to talk Peacemaker. Season 2 underway today. Episode 1 of Season 2, titled The Ties That Grind. Of course, written and directed by James Gunn. Another great job there by Mr. Gunn himself in this one. Hilarious episode, but also I think really sets the stage for what should be a good season in Season 2, and especially an impactful season in Season 2 with how important it is for the DCU, according to the things James Gunn has said. So excited about that. But let's talk a little bit about the episode here, because I think to start it off, the first thing we got to address, which I guess, let me go ahead and say, these episode recaps will be spoiler filled. So if you haven't seen the episode, pause this, go watch the episode, come back, and then tune into this. Or if you don't give a shit about spoilers, that's cool too. But what happens is on the recap of Season 1, we all know it ended with the Justice League at the end of Season 1 of Peacemaker, but that's been retconned to where it was actually the Justice Gang there. So instead of how it was previously with the DCEU characters, now it's Mr. Terrific, Superman, Hawkgirl, Guy Gardner, and Supergirl there when they show the recap of the end of Season 1 to make this tie right directly into the DCU now. And they talk about a lot of those characters in the episode. Hawkgirl and Guy Gardner have, a nice little cameo in the episode. So does Maxwell Lord, played by Sean Gunn, James Gunn's brother, and that was a pretty funny scene. So that's one of the big things, I think, you right from the beginning of this episode, you say, okay, boom, this is straight DCU now. We've retconned the end of Season 1. Now everything else is canon. And we're jumping in here to Season 2, where the, I guess, funny thing is it kind of starts off with, Peacemaker, Chris, John Cena's character, eagerly wants to go outside. He's like, it's too damn cold outside. So he takes him into the room with all the portals and stuff that we knew of, that his dad had from the first season. Can't find Eagly. Finds Eagly. He's at a door. He's like, all right, I'm going to open the door, because he sees the Peacemaker helmets beside the door. And when he does, see some newspaper articles talking about the trio. It's him and his dad and someone else in a suit who we don't know who it is at this point. And then Robert Patrick walks by, of course, the character that played Chris's father in Season 1, which we know Season 1 culminated, spoiler alert, with him killing his father. But he pops up here yet again in Season 2 because he's now in a different dimension where his dad's still alive. And that scares the shit out of him. So he runs back out, runs back into, his world. And that's kind of the catalyst to start our episode. And to me, it was like Chekhov's portal, right? Like, okay, we're obviously coming back to that at some point. So, but we continue through the episode. We get exposition about, Harcourt, exposition about Adebayo, exposition about Economos, where he's at now. And then, of course, what's his name, man? I'm going to have to look it up on the cast list here. I don't see it. Adrian Chase, that's it. Yeah, Adrian Chase, who was a hilarious character in the first season. He's working at a restaurant now. He's calling Economos, bothering him every single day, bugging him with some random shit. Had him look up owl facts, which he didn't even know. He tried to say he knew a lot about owls. Just stupid shit like that. So we're just kind of catching up with all the characters. And then that's when we get John Cena wanting to join the Justice Gang there. Chris, Peacemaker, wanting to join the Justice Gang, so he shows up. Another character runs out crying that you can tell that they turned down. She's in a bunny costume. And that's where you get Maxwell Lord, Guy Gardner, and Hawkgirl. And they're pretty much not only denying him, but they're making fun of him the whole time. He can hear what they're saying. There's some funny moments, some good jokes thrown in there. But then that sends, Chris into a little bit of a tailspin, especially, once he meets up with Harcourt and tries to kind of gauge the feelings there because of how Season 1 ended. And he doesn't really get the answers that he wanted from her. So then he really, goes into a tailspin. He goes back to his place. He breaks out what he had for a rainy day. It was a bag of Coke, and starts doing lines. And then we get a quick transition to where he's basically having an orgy at his house. Everyone's there naked. There's dicks flopping, tits hanging out, everything. It's pretty hilarious. And then Economos is, keeping an eye on him because they've been noticing the blips, people escaping from Belle Reve and other places. And, now Peacemaker ends up creating one of those blips going into the other dimension there, which Economos finds out. He has to talk to Adebayo. What should I do about this? Should I tell Argus? And then Adebayo says, no, I'll talk to him about it. And that's kind of where we end off with that part of it. But of course, we know he's going to go back in there when he gets drunk and he's all fucked up there at the party. So goes back into the portal as we expected. And when he goes back in, he looks at the pictures. He walks outside the house as a car's pulling up. Car pulls up. It's a truck. Guy gets out walking into the house. You're kind of expecting it to be Robert Patrick. It's not. It's David Denman, who you may know from Brightburn, probably better known as Roy from The Office back in the day. And instantly, Peacemaker recognizes him. He says, Keith? And he's like, yeah, and it's his brother. And at that point, you're like, oh, shit, he's going to want to stay in this universe because his brother is still alive in this dimension, which we know from season 1. In an accident, Peacemaker accidentally killed his brother, and that's why him and his dad had the relationship that they did in the real world. And so then we also find out that the pictures of the 3 heroes saving people was him, his dad, and his brother. And so they sit around, they have a conversation, share some jokes. You can tell Peacemaker's eating it up, loving it. And then after that, they kind of turn in for the night. Peacemaker walks into what is, his room in that universe. And of course, you knew it was going to happen. We've seen it in the trailers. The Chris from that dimension sneaks up on him, gun to the back of his head. Fight ensues. It ends with Peacemaker that we know running away. The other one from this dimension says activate magic stars. They chase after him, start cutting up his back as he's trying to get through the portal. Finally gets through the portal, but the Peacemaker from that dimension follows him. They continue battling out in that room with all the portals and such. He starts beating the shit out of the Chris that we know from season 1, and then pulls out a spike from his fist. You think he's about to punch him. And the whole time that they've been fighting, Chris from season 1 has seen that this Peacemaker has a device where he taps his chest and he has rocket boosters and takes off. So when he's about to punch him, he's like, oh shit, he's about to kill the Chris from our universe from season 1. Is this how this is going to continue? It's going to be just a new Chris, a new Peacemaker? That's what I was thinking. Then about that time, he smacks him on his chest, hits his jetpack, shoots him up into the air. There's like a chandelier type thing with a big spike, goes through him. So in effect, the episode ends with him killing the Chris from the dimension where his brother lives and his father lives still yet. So obviously, we don't know it for sure, but I think we can safely assume he's going to go there, fill in as that Chris, and they're never going to be none the wiser. So, and that's kind of where the chaos is going to ensue moving forward. So, I think all in all, a lot of exposition, a lot of setup, a lot of building for what's going to happen throughout the season. So, maybe not the most action-packed episode or anything, but it did give you some good emotional moments, which, I think that's something that was underrated with season 1 of Peacemaker. Yeah, it's hilarious, you'll laugh your ass off, but sometimes you get those nice little deep emotional moments. Something James Gunn's always good at is balancing comedy and emotion, and he does that again here in episode 1 when you see Chris, get to see his brother now and get to be reunited with his father and his brother, and kind of you get a glimpse of that life that he never got a chance to have with those two. That was pretty cool. And I think that just the way that things set up now, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with these characters, because it's definitely got you wanting to come back and tune in week after week, because that Adrian Chase is going to get called back into the fold to help Economos. Adebayo is going to help, and Harcourt somehow is going to get back involved, which she's dealing with her own shit right now, where she's kind of been suspended or whatever, and her story ends with her in the bar, trying to kick some guy's ass, and ends up getting the shit kicked out of her. So she ends up, on the ground bloody. It's the last time we see her in this episode. And then, of course, the end of the episode is Peacemaker holding the other Peacemaker in his arms that he just killed, and he's got to decide what to do from there. And that's where we'll pick up in episode 2. So I will say I enjoyed this episode. I think if you liked season 1, you'll like this episode, and it'll just make you more hungry and more excited for the rest of season 2, which I'm going to try and do episode recaps for each episode here throughout season 2. This is just episode 1. Laughed hard, had some good emotional moments, and love what they're setting up for the season. And I can't wait to see how impactful it's going to be for the DCU, which we'll continue to cover here on JC's Movies. Before you head out, just take a second, hit that like button on this video. Help us out with that crazy YouTube algorithm. Help this find more fans of the DCU like yourself. And if you're one of those that hasn't yet, be sure to hit the subscribe button here on the JC's Movies channel. Still trying to grow this thing here on YouTube. And let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Would love to hear what you thought of episode 1 or some predictions you have for season 2, whatever you got there. Throw it in the comments. Appreciate those interactions. Just like I appreciate you tuning into this video, and I will catch you on the next one.